Hello and welcome back to another exciting Encountering Jesus, where we look at Jesus afresh through the Gospel of John, who was a close friend of Jesus. And last time we looked at Jesus the Creator, where he fed thousands of people with just a boy's lunchbox. And that miracle is the only miracle that occurs in all the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. And today we're gonna be looking at what happens next, straight after the feeding of all those thousands of people. So if you're enjoying this channel, why not like, subscribe and click the bell, and you will never miss another episode. Well, this session we're actually going to be looking at Jesus walking on water. Jesus is power over nature, and the reading today is taken from John chapter 6 verses 16 to 24. So I've got a New Living Translation here, and the words will be coming up on the screen, or you can follow along in whatever Bible translation you would like. So we're going to read from John chapter 6 verses 16 to 24. That evening Jesus' disciples went down to the shore to wait for him. But as darkness fell and Jesus still hadn't come back, they got into the boat and headed across the lake towards Capernaum. Soon a gale swept down upon them and the sea grew very rough. They had rowed 3 or 4 miles when suddenly they saw Jesus walking on the water towards the boat. They were terrified, but he called out to them, "Don't be afraid, I am here." Then they were eager to let him in the boat, and immediately they arrived at their destination. The next day the crowd that had stayed on the far shore saw that the disciples had taken the only boat and had realized that Jesus had not gone with them. Several boats from Tiberias landed near the place where the Lord had blessed the bread and the people had eaten. So when the crowd saw that neither Jesus nor his disciples were there, they got into the boats and went across to Capernaum to look for him. Now, at some time or other, we've all found ourselves waiting for someone for an appointment or for something else, and sometimes these individuals might not turn up, and we find ourselves asking questions like, "Oh, where are they, and how much longer are they going to take?" And waiting is never pleasant. But 2,000 years ago, just after Jesus fed around 20 to 25,000 people with a boy's small lunchbox, we actually see that the disciples are waiting on the shore, waiting for him to come along. But Jesus is just dismissing the crowd. So he's gone with the crowds and he's saying, "Right, off you go, see you again next time," and all this sort of thing. And the disciples are going, "Oh, well, how much longer is he going to be?" But look, there was a lot of people to dismiss, and so the disciples eventually decide to get into the boat. Now, John doesn't say what really happened there, but in the other Gospels of Matthew and Mark, it says that Jesus actually told them to go ahead of him in the boat while he dismissed the crowds. So they get in the boat and they start rowing across the lake. And they're about 3 or 4 miles out when suddenly this squally storm comes up. And they're all in disarray. "Oh, maybe we should have waited for Jesus. Maybe we should have just... Oh, what are we doing? We should have just waited for him. He'd know what to do." And the boat's getting tossed here, there and everywhere. And then they look and they see this figure walking on the water. And at first they're terrified. Who's this? He hasn't even got a boat. And it's Jesus. And Jesus says, "Don't worry, lads. It's me. I'm coming." So they're really relieved to see him. And as soon as he gets into the boat, something amazing happens. It says they were in the middle of the lake, and then suddenly they're on the other side. Immediately they were on the other side of the lake. And 2 things are apparent from John's eyewitness account. One, Jesus has complete mastery over nature and the physical elements. In that he produced food enough for 20,000 people earlier that day. Bread and fish. And 2, Jesus has complete mastery over time and space. He's walking on the water, he jumps in the boat, they're in the middle of the lake, And immediately, John says, they were on the other side of the lake. Well, how is that possible? Well, it's possible if you are the creator. It's possible if you are God's son. And can you imagine the effect of this on Jesus' disciples? He feeds 20,000 people, and then he's walking on the water, and then the boat is suddenly on the other side. Their world must be turned upside down. There's so many things happening, and that doesn't even take into account Jesus' teaching and the way he teaches and the way he heals and everything else. So 2,000 years ago, their world is upside down. And as I've said before, very often when we look at these familiar accounts, we actually take the miraculous out of the miraculous. But look at this afresh now, 2,000 years later. If this happened to you now, if you saw someone walking on the water, I'm not talking Dynamo or David Blaine, I'm talking Jesus walking on, no trickery or anything else, after feeding 20,000 people, what effect would his miracles have on your life? What effect would it have on who you think Jesus is? Can Jesus really be who he says he is when he's displaying all these miraculous powers of feeding people with scraps of food, and then walking on water, and then a boat suddenly zooming across the lake in an instant, time and space? Could Jesus possibly be who he says he is? What are these miracles saying about Jesus? So as always, what do you know about Jesus that you didn't know before? How does this affect your opinion of him? And also, what further questions does this raise? And as always, we have this book here, Encountering Jesus, and this book has got places where you can write stuff and everything. I'll write your thoughts, write your questions, but also it has personal monologues. I've written personal monologues from the people who were actually there. Obviously I wasn't there, I'm just trying to imagine them being there. But you don't need this book, but if you'd like this book, you can get it from our website. And of course, as always, if you would like, subscribe and ring the bell, you will never miss another episode. And once again, I say this is Jesus over a cuppa, and once again, I still haven't touched my Earl Grey tea, which I made especially. So that ends it for this session. So if you'd like to join us for next time, God bless, and we'll see you then.